Howdy doody, Buckaroonies, and welcome back. Perhaps you noticed something a little bit different since the last time we spoke. Maybe I've aged like fine wine or milk. Or perhaps it's the stunning quality of lighting thanks to this absolutely ridiculous f***ing diffuser setup I bought that makes me look so young and spry. I'm not really sure if it translates at all on camera, but I do be feeling like a snack, as the kids say. Anyways, last time we talked scales on the channel, we talked about that funky fresh major scale with that oh so spicy tritone boy that sounds very dreamy and beautiful, better known as the Lydian mode. Today, by request and sort of on the inverse of that equation, I wanted to share with you my other friend, the Phrygian mode, better known by its street name, Spicy Minor. So we'll be going over what the Phrygian mode is, how to play it, and of course some tips for utilizing it in your music. As always with these types of videos, I would love for you to consider this as a homework assignment for yourself to go out and try the Phrygian mode and see what you can make with it. Of course, if you make something cool, feel free to share it with me on social media or the Discord, because I always love to hear what you're out there creating. Before we go chugalooging along here today, if none of what I'm saying makes any sense, because a at least basic understanding of music theory is going to sort of be required to follow along here, I would recommend checking out my friends over at Hook Theory. They have a bunch of free online resources to learn about music theory and songwriting, and they have a couple really great affordable books that teach you all the foundational elements of music theory and a whole bunch of songwriting and composition tips and tricks that are really, really useful. Personally, I can't recommend Hook Theory enough. I love Hook Theory, and I sort of just steal ideas from it all the time, but hey, that's the way the cannoli crumbles. If you want to check it out for yourself, you can find more information with the link down in the description. Okay, let's talk Phrygian. Phrygian is a lot like the regular old minor scale if we take that out of C. The only difference is this spicy flat 2, and that's what makes it spicy minor. If you wanted to play it using all the friendly keys and not the spicy keys, you can go from E to the next E. And that is Phrygian. If you sit down and pull a Trent Reznor feat Atticus Ross and get real stingy with the third by just not using it at all, we really get the magic of the Phrygian mode front and center. This creates a very enigmatic feeling with a hint of longing and maybe a sense of primal mystique and intrigue with just a whisper of smoked paprika. The 3rd and 7th degrees of a scale typically act as the guide to if it's major or minor. So by avoiding these, more so the 3rd than the 7 in this case, we can hide the true nature of the scale for a more mysterious feel. And the real color of Phrygian comes from that spicy minor 2nd, as well as combining that with the 4th and 5th degrees of the scale. And that sounds pretty neat. Phrygian is one of those really useful modes that feels very magical when you pull it off because it's not all that hard to utilize. At first pass, it does sound a little bit weird because this really dissonant minor 2nd isn't something that's really a popular tone choice in contemporary, I guess, popular Western music or whatever. But once you understand where the notes of the scale are, you can almost entirely freely combine them to create some very neat chord voicings and colors that you might not get out of more conventional minor or major scales. And I think that's a really powerful thing, even though it is relatively simple. Some of the best examples you can go check out of Phrygian in action, I think, come from artists like Seb Taylor, more specifically in his work with Kaya Project, where it's used to create a sonic picture by way of utilizing the massive tension in these half steps and the real release and guide coming from the chords that are laid underneath. And you can even combine the major third every once in a while for a bit of Phrygian dominant flavor to get some very spicy, moving things. And that's a really, really cool trick. One of the weirder things to remember with the Phrygian mode is that because of this flat 2, our dominant chord, or the 5 chord, isn't good old G minor in this case, but rather becomes one of those spooky diminished chord types that we just normally don't speak of. So with that being said, if you're ever lost when writing in Phrygian and need to work your way back home, the safer bet is to go for your 4 chord, or in this case F minor, and then work down to home or C minor. Because this diminished 5 to 1 doesn't really provide that same sense of coming home as it does in other modes. So just something to keep in mind as you bravely venture forward. So that is a tour around Phrygian, aka Spicy Minor. Phrygian is a really fun mode, and I think the beauty of it is that it can really be kind of as light or as dark as you want it to be, but I'll leave that for you to explore, because be it not the journey, but merely the lessons of paths taken. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.